Copy, over.
Hotel Bravo 1, copy. Return to base in 20 miles. Over.
Base base, Hotel Bravo 1. Two-vehicle convoy hit by IED and small arms fire. Request immediate medevac and QRF. My location is 1 mile east of Fire Base on Route 1. We're next to the river and a bend in the road.
I want to thank Mr. Ross for giving me the honor and privilege of introducing our next guest, Chief Warrant Officer Gary O'Neill. He served with the U.S. Army Special Forces and is even a member of the Ranger Hall of Fame, which shocked even some of his closest friends because, as you will soon learn, Mr. O'Neill is not known for political correctness. He was handpicked for Operation Blue Light, which was the first Department of Defense counterterrorist team that was put together by the 5th Special Forces Group until Delta Force became operational. Now, Gary is a popular guy. Every human being is his friend, as demonstrated by the fact that he's been shot 9 times, bayoneted more than half a dozen times, and still carries shrapnel around in his body from other wartime injuries. He served with the U.S. Army Golden Knights parachute team, and today trains people in self-defense through his company, American Warrior. Gary's had a hand in training all of the U.S. military's elite warriors, including those in the CIA, in clandestine services, and in SEAL Team 6. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased and happy to present to you Chief Warrant Officer Gary O'Neill, U.S. Army retired.
In the 1750s. And his son was in the Frontier Rangers, and both of them signed the oath of allegiance to America and fought the Revolutionary War. My 4th great grand uncle was a captain in the War of 1812. Their grandfather who fought in the Civil War. I've had relations that's fought in every conflict that this country's been in since the beginning. And I'll be damned, pardon me, preacher, that I will ever let anybody step on the Constitution of the United States. And I'll fight anybody that says different. I started fighting, I put it on the uniform in 1965, at the age of 15. I lied. I stole my cousin's birth certificate and joined the Army as Butch O'Neill. Until my cousin got drafted and they found out there was 2 Butch O'Neills with the same paperwork, social security number, parents, and everything. So my cousin didn't get drafted, he was already in the Army. Yeah. Well, I got in trouble and I got booted out. They gave me an honorable discharge because I was on my 3rd term. You know, that happened and they found out in 68, so 65 to 68. I was in Vietnam. I went to high school in northern Saigon. You know. But, you know, I had a choice of doing that or being passed around my relations, you know, because my dad was Irish and my mom was Native American. So the whites didn't like me because I was Indians. The Indians didn't like me because I was white, and I didn't like nobody. So I joined the Army. I ran away from home and joined the Army. And I tell you, it's been my family. It's still my family. And I still teach. I still train. There's a few people in here that we go back a long ways. Some of my students. But I still teach because I believe in the Constitution. And I will never, ever let anybody step on my ancestors and everybody that sacrificed their lives, their family, and their wealth to give us this freedom. I'm going to read you a little thing here. Some of you have done some research. His name is Norman Mattoon Thomas. He was born November 20th, 1884. He died December 1968. If I'd known him in 1965, he would have died in 1965. He was a leading American socialist pacifist and six-time presidential candidate for the Socialist Party of America. The Socialist Party candidate for president, he said in a 1944 speech, the American people will never knowingly adopt socialism, but under the name of liberalism, they will adopt every fragment of the socialist program until one day America will be a socialist nation without knowingly how it happened. He went on to say, I no longer have to run as a presidential candidate for the Socialist Party. The Democratic Party has adopted our platform. I'm an American. I've shed blood in every continent of this world. I've lost family. I've lost friends. One's there, several there. I was just with Chris, no more than 2 weeks ago. And we was talking about the same thing we're talking about right here. Chris was a patriot. He stood up. He stood up for the Second Amendment. He said that in Congress, the Armed Services Committee. And he lost his life by a coward. Ladies and gentlemen, our education system is rock bottom. If we don't get our kids back, we will lose this country. The Socialist Party has turned around and went in and took our family away, our family values. The Constitution of the United States is based off family values. It's based off what we want to do, the American dream. And I believe in the American dream. I shed blood for it. They can shoot me right now, but they'll never get me. There ain't no man, nothing. They can kill me, they can eat me, but they cannot take my mind away, and most of all, they cannot take my spirit away. They could never have it. There's only one identity that's got that, and that's God Almighty. Our nation is built. In God we trust. In God we trust. The basic American people now are fat and lazy, complacent. As long as nobody bothers them in their air-conditioned house when they drive the air-conditioned car to the air-conditioned office, to the air-conditioned bar, back home, so they can watch a football game and drink beer and bitch. Pardon my language, ladies. And complain about nothing. Simply nothing. They're lazy. They're lazy on their voting. Just because you hear something on the TV, or somebody charismatic out here talking with forked tongue, pulling everything out. So I'm not politically correct, but I don't care. I never was. Even my commanders, for 43 years, from 1965 to 2007, I served this country and I still serve it. Until I am put in the ground, I will always serve this nation. We are the greatest nation in the world. We are the greatest fighters that ever walked the face of this earth, and I'll fight anybody that says different. I am not going to tolerate it. I'm going to speak out. I'm retired. They can take my retirement. They can take whatever they want. They can't take my spirit. And I'll fight, because nobody is going to sit there and urinate on my ancestors and our forefathers' graves. Period. I've been trained by the best. One of my mentors just turned 100. December 20th. 1937, he jumped into Poland and set up the Polish underground. Turned around, jumped into Yugoslavia and Czechoslovakia and set up the underground. Went to Morocco and set up the underground. Then they sent him over in Asia to help stop the Japanese influence. He was in the OSS. Another good friend of mine, one of my mentors, Jack Singlaw, Jetbird, OSS. I had a team sergeant who was in the Hitler Youth. Ran away, came to the United States. Joined the Army, went back over to fight. Because he believed in freedom. He didn't believe in tyranny. He didn't believe to be held with his thumb. These liberals, he's got blinders on. They've been manipulated by the Shadow Party and the Socialist and the Communist Party. I go around to high schools, I teach patriotism. Every time I see a youth, because our kids are our future. As a sun dancer and a warrior, my responsibility is to protect the youth and protect the elders. The elders are our knowledge, our experience. The youth is our future. We've got to get our kids back. We've got to get our educations back. Look who's the head of the Harvard Law, Dean of Harvard Law, card-carrying communists. They're teaching our kids, they're teaching the lawyers. Look at Ayers, Chicago. Good friends of our fearless leader. You know? I believe in the Constitution. Yes, he is holding the office. I have no respect for him at all, because he's trying to step on our Constitution, an American dream. I just became, 3 years ago, I just became a great-grandfather. just had a number. Try to keep myself young. And the only reason why I retired is I couldn't run anymore. My body was too tore up. Or I'd still be in right now. I love the uniform. I love serving the country. It's all about we the people. We the people. I don't, as we the people, I don't hear any me, I. But we got so lazy about voting, and it's we the people is gave the problem and put them in that office. Just listen to their mouths and didn't listen to the substance behind them. Those people up there in Washington, D.C. are so corrupt, there is nothing up there. They ain't nothing more than hogs at the feed trough. And they're feeding off the taxpayers' money. They're taking our votes and selling them to the highest bidder for these special interest units, special interest groups. It's all about money, greed. Think George Soros needs another dime? You think all these billionaires are members of the shadow party behind the scenes? They're out there doing freedom movement everywhere. They're using our Constitution, our freedoms, to fight against us. Our freedoms, they're using them. They've been studying. I know some of us in here knows when Khrushchev came over and started beating, he took his shoes off. We had a pulpit there where I took my boot off because it was bigger than his. I would have beat it. If I was a little bit older, I'd probably beat him with it. And he said that he would the Japanese would not attack the mainland because they was afraid, because they knew behind every blade of grass there was a weapon. An American behind that weapon. Russians would not come over here and attack us one-on-one because there ain't no country in the world can take America one-on-one. Our ancestors have been kicked out of every country in the world, and we come here and got the melting pot right here and call it America. We refuse to be underneath terrorism. Tyranny. There's one thing good about it. In America, when the government fears the people, it's called freedom. When people fear the government, it's called tyranny. And I'll be damned, pardon my language, that I will ever let my great-grandkids and my kids grow up underneath tyranny. I won't do it. I'm a pretty fair shot. If they take my guns away, hey, I've been known to do damage with my hands. Okay? And I am not afraid to die. And I think the only reason why I'm still here amongst everybody is because the Creator's war chief hasn't retired yet. Because he is the supreme grand master. God we trust. This nation was built on God and Jesus Christ. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And nobody can mess with our spirit or our mental being without us giving it up. Glory has a price. Honor is priceless. But integrity covers it all. You sell your integrity, you can never get it back. You can't do it. Probably one of the best compliments I ever had. I've had several compliments, you know, and stuff that my commanders and everybody else has given me, you know. But I introduced my my lady friend, my girlfriend. She says, "Hey, I'm too old to be your girlfriend," you know. But I introduced her one of my commanders. I says, "Bruce, this is my girlfriend Joe. Joe, this is my commander Bruce Whitson." He looked at me. He looked at Joe and says, "Look. So let me clarify something here, Joe." I says, "Yes, I'm the commanding. I was Gary's commander. Yes, I was the commanding officer, but there ain't nobody ever commanded O'Neill. Nobody. They give me a mission, I'll go do it. Don't ask questions. Don't ask me how I got it done, because you really don't want to know. But your mission will be complete. Charlie and Mike, continue the mission. And Mike, Charlie, the mission's complete." In 2009, I had a good friend of mine. I served with 11 Medal of Honor recipients in my career, and I know a whole bunch of others. And a real close friend of mine, one of my mentors, Bob Howard, Colonel Howard, he was the highest decorated soldier in the history of this country. He was up for 3 congressionals. DSC, Silver Stars, Bronze Stars. He was unreal. I found out that he was in hospital with pancreatic cancer. So I called the desk at the hospital on his floor, the head nurse, and I told her, I says, "Ma'am," I says, "let Bob know that Gary O'Neill is sending his prayers, and I'm standing by." Well, he called me back. And he told me, he says, "Young Ranger, you've been trained by some of the best soldiers that this country has ever produced, and you took it to the next level higher. You do not have the right to take it to the grave with you. You get out there and you train the troops and you continue the mission." I thought I was retired. He says, "Charlie Mike." I said, "Sir, what?" I said, "Listen to me." I said, "I'm on transmit, you're on receive. You Charlie Mike, continue the mission." And he hung up the phone. And that's the last time I talked to him. And he passed away. So I'm back out teaching troops again. I just finished up with some of you guys, Navy guys might know. I was up in Little Creek teaching the ASOP course. Okay, intel courses. I teach with Rangers, Special Forces. I help set up the MARSOC unit, set up the SOTGs underneath General Gray. You know, I've been around. I've got to do everything. You know, I've been in every conflict from 65 to 2007. In the last war I went over there, the generals made me, "Hey, you're my bodyguard. Okay, you stay with me." I said, "No, I want a team. Let's go. I want to go back out." He says, "No, this is not your war, and I don't want to see you in jail. Because the ROE doesn't fit you. You know, if I see an enemy with a weapon, he's history. And I don't care. You know, I refuse Purple Hearts. Everybody take your Purple Hearts. Well, now, you're looking at 3%, of your retirement, it adds on. So I got 9 times 3 added on to my retirement. But when I was 17, and I had 4 bullet holes in me at that time, and I refused my Purple Hearts because I didn't want a medal on my chest to show that the enemy hit his target. I had a little bit of pride because the Purple Heart to me was for the people that lost limbs, lost their legs, triple amputees. Had a young Marine not too long ago, triple amputee, and I'm working with him, and he wants to skydive. So I take him up, and we go out 15,000 feet and skydive. Put him in a wind tunnel and stuff. We go out shooting, we go out just like Chris did, trying to help the veterans. Okay? We've got to get our kids back. You see what's happened with our kids. They're easy to be manipulated. You go to the mall and they're walking behind their girlfriends, sitting there texting and playing games like they got a leash around their neck. We are breeding cowards. We are breeding cowards here in America. We do not have any combat veterans in leadership positions from the 4 stars down. We do not have. We don't have a star up here that's been in combat slinging bullets. They've been in war zones, but there's a difference being in a war zone and being in combat. They sit in their leather chairs watching video games on and think just like video games out there, and their troops are out there and they're dictating policy out there and telling them you can't do that, don't move here, do this. Taking the ground command, the power away from the ground commanders. They've never been in combat. They've never slung bullets downrange. But yet they got medals from their bottom pocket all the way going on the other side of their chest to their back. It's amazing how far we have gone. If I had known, if I hadn't been so busy fighting and serving this country for we the people being overseas, out of 43 years, I averaged 249 days a year gone out of this country. Fighting for we the people so everybody can have the right to do what they want to do. The freedom of choice. God gave us freedom of choice to be whoever we wanted to be. If we want to be a doctor, we could be a doctor. If we want to be a lawyer, we could be a lawyer. If we want to be a priest, we could be a priest. If we want to be a bad guy, we could be a bad guy. We had the freedom of choice. And America is the only country in the world that gives you that freedom of choice. And why do we want to be like Europe and every place else in the world? Why do Americans want to be like them when we are the greatest nation in the world? Let everybody be like us. Let's lead by example. Tall, heads up, not looking down like a bunch of little puppy dogs. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. We're Americans. God, I love this country. Don't let me go on the Indian side. I'm half Irish and half Indian. Half me likes to drink, and that half goes on the warpath, and I'm the bartender. That's why I don't drink. I don't trust myself. I get carried away. My political correctness goes away. Yeah. But I'll appreciate everybody coming. I really appreciate Jeff and everybody else here, friends and stuff. And I tell you what, sir, you've got one hell of a family. If every American family walked like you as a father and you as a mother, a father is the hardest job there is in the world. The mother is just as hard. But there's one thing about women. Women are closest to God than any of us. Why? Because they give life. They give life. I know I tested the thought, man. I got a few ex-wives. But I was never home. You know? And I've adopted 8 kids since retired and stuff. You know, I adopted a little brother and sister, you know, a 2.5-year-old and a 7-month-old boy. And now they're 10 and they're 12 and 10 now. You know, they're good kids. You know, they got school, they got my benefits, stuff like that, you know. Because kids are our future. You know, kids are our future. We've got to get our schools back. We've got to get our education system back. We've got to get God back in school. We've got to get the patriotism back in and the pride back in America. We've got to do it. If we don't get our kids, we're going to lose this country. If we don't get them. And every time I see a kid out here that looks like he's getting in trouble or whatever, I don't care who he is or who she is. I'm going to do what I can to help. And I really appreciate, I can't preach like Max, you know, but I can dance good.
Good hand. We're next to the river and a bend in the road. How copy, over?
Hotel Bravo 1, this is base. Good copy. Wait one, over. Hotel Bravo 1, this is base. QRF alerted ETA go location 10 mics. Request status of WIAs, over.
Base, this is Hotel Bravo 1. Whiskey, India, Alpha,